Welcome to Stop Dating Losers. Become a free member on my website for free relationship advice. And share this video with everyone you know. Let us go ahead and begin as we always do. All right. This seems to be the biggest comment of the series, of the entire series. Let's go ahead and have a look. Sometimes that crazy ex-girlfriend who's acting psycho is really the victim telling the truth about her abuser. People are so quick to label a woman as crazy, bitter, or obsessed when she finally speaks out. They roll their eyes, call her dramatic, say she can't move on. But what if what she's saying isn't drama? It's evidence. What if her anger is pain? What if her obsession is trauma trying to find closure that never came? Narcissists are masters of reputation management. They know how to twist a story before anyone else hears it. So while she's breaking down, trying to explain what really happened, he's already out there telling people she's unstable, jealous, and vindictive. By the time she speaks, her credibility has already been poisoned. He's calm, charming, and believable. She's emotional, desperate, and dismissed. And society tends to believe the calm one, even when the calm one is the abuser. What people don't see is what she went through behind closed doors, the gaslighting, the manipulation, the lies, the isolation. They don't see the hundreds of times she forgave, the nights she cried, the confusion she lived in every day. They only see the aftermath, the broken version of her that's trying to make sense of the damage. So yes, sometimes that crazy ex isn't crazy at all. She's traumatized. She's reacting to months or years of psychological abuse that no one believed while it was happening. She's fighting to be heard after being silenced for too long. Her emotions aren't proof of instability. They're evidence of survival. Before judging her, ask why she's acting that way. Ask what she's been through, because narcissists leave chaos in their wake. And when the truth finally comes out, it rarely looks calm. Sometimes the one screaming the loudest isn't unstable. She's just the only one brave enough to tell the truth. So remember, the crazy ex story often has two sides. And the one who looks the most composed is usually the one who caused the storm. Yes, okay, so she's saying there's two sides to every story. But there's one main flaw. Regardless, you could have written a book about this person, and I don't know if it's about you yourself, because it sounds very accurate, but regardless of who it is, there's one constant. Regardless of how much trauma, i.e. abuse, for instance, that one's been through, you still have to remain composed. It doesn't give you the green light to behave psychotically, to behave like a complete psychopath. All right? In many cases, that's not an exaggeration, calling somebody a psychopath, because they're allowing themselves to become what they shouldn't become. And what I'll say is, if you didn't seek help during the abuse, then now you're complicit rather, in your own unfortunate future circumstances, which this person most likely found herself in, ending up becoming a quote-unquote psycho. Now, the bad thing about this is that she didn't go through examples of why this person's being called crazy or obsessed. See, that's my main concern right there. You're literally telling us half of the story. What if she really does have a lot of culpability? What if it wasn't just 100% abuse? Because there's cases. There's cases where things escalate between the man and the woman, regardless if they're married or not. They're in a relationship. And it's not always the abuser's fault. Now, if that is the case, then I got it. She is a victim of abuse, and she ended up becoming quote unquote crazy. And everybody, there shouldn't be one person who shouldn't sympathize with that possibility and likelihood. That's pretty typical, but there are many cases where the person, the victim, actually either instigated it or was a part of it in some way. Maybe they're just as abusive to their spouse or their partner. And we have to take that into account. So this is not a case-by-case analysis, but this particular case would have to be fully assessed to see what exactly happened. But in the case of an ex, okay, I don't know who's calling her crazy. Is that just strangers judging from the outside looking in? Because this comment here leaves out a lot to be figured out. There's too many pieces of this puzzle missing, because she's saying, well, she's not crazy at all. People think that she's crazy. And all she gave us here is people are so quick to label a woman as crazy, bitter, or obsessed. Well, which is it? Where's the defense? Because you're saying that her anger and trauma are excused as pain and obsession and closure that never came. There's so many missing ends to this description in this comment. We understand that narcissists are masters of reputation management, yada yada. They always tell the lies first. They tend to scream the loudest. We know that. But what we don't know is more about the victim in this case. You know, you're saying by the time she speaks, her credibility has been poisoned. No, I'm pretty sure that everybody wants to hear her side of the story. If, you know, I can't imagine a scenario where she would have to explain it to people in the first place. Maybe friends and family who care, who are trying to judge to see, okay, what happened? Who's culpable? What happened, right? And then the narcissistic abuser is pretending to be the good guy when he's actually the bad guy. Yes, that's a possibility. But also realize that the victim, the person acting like a victim, the psychopath that you're describing here, could actually be the narcissistic abuser and painting her husband or her ex-boyfriend, it doesn't matter, her ex, as the abuser, when in reality, she's the abuser. This is, so detecting who's the narcissist, who the narcissist really is a bit tricky. We need all the missing pieces of the puzzle. So you can't go on social media spewing all this out. You have to be, look, it's a long comment, but you have to provide every single missing piece of the puzzle, at least 90% of it. Because dealing with narcissists is very tricky. Because dealing with liars, you need to hear, that's why we have court cases. They say the devil's in the details. It's no different when dealing with a narcissistic abusive case. Because you're saying here the gaslighting, manipulation, the lies, and isolation. Can you give us some examples? The hundreds of times she forgave. You know, if it, like I said before, if it is a classic case of narcissistic abuse, and it is the way the victim says it is, so be it. But I have to leave this comment where it is, a huge question mark. And why would anybody label her as crazy? Because as I began explaining this, if she's behaving in a way that's only going to make her look worse, make a bad situation worse than what it already is, then she's already doing a disservice to her in the present and in the future. And she's going to find it very difficult to find anybody to help her in her case, because all they can go by is what they see before them. That's the evidence. So I guess I can actually spin this to say the best advice I can give anybody in this type of situation is to don't become the very thing that abused you, that attacked you, right? So because if you're acting like a psycho, like a crazy lady, or a man, because there's a lot of males who are also victims of narcissistic abuse, then you're going to start to look, as she pointed out here, just as crazy as the abuser, because now the abuser is going to take advantage of your erratic behavior and act like the calm one and actually be believed thanks to your erratic behavior. So always remain calm. I know it's not going to be possible in all cases, but that's your best weapon. Understand? That's your best weapon and best defense. You have to try to control your emotions, your mind, your thoughts, your emotions, all that negative energy. Otherwise, yes, you're going to be seen as the crazy one, the psychopath. And I hate to say that, but it's the truth. I don't know who's culpable. I don't know who the real victim is. If there's shared culpability, if you guys are both guilty of something that led up to this enormous explosion of an incident or various incidents. So this lady here is saying, don't judge her as crazy. There's chaos and narcissists and, the loud one. And the truth is, the matter of the fact is, we don't know the rest of the story. So this long comment, as long as it is, it's not long enough. And I'm not asking for her to write a book either. I just need some crucial missing pieces of the puzzle here. I need examples. Why is she being called crazy? What kind of abuse did she go through? Because you said isolation, the lies and manipulation, but anybody can throw that to the other person. And that's normally what people pretending to be a victim do. There's a lot of people who pretend to be the victim of abuse when either they're the real gaslighters or abusers. There's a lot of cases, but like I said before, and this is the last time I'll say this, if she's a real true victim, I feel bad for her. I hope I wish her the best. But you guys got to keep an open mind. When you see stuff like this on social media, keep an open mind that, yeah, like she said, this is one side of the story, but you're not really telling it the way you should. Let's go ahead and move on, shall we? And this has to be on this show because there are real psychopaths out there, narcissists in the dating realm. That's why I say stay out of the dating realm. Just befriend somebody. Whatever happened to that? All right, let's go ahead and move on to the second comment, shall we? So there's this guy on Threads, that's a social media platform, who ranted about his ex-girlfriend being so demanding that she even asked him to buy her an iPhone 15. Wow, okay. His post went viral, and I've seen a lot of women commenting, just find a woman you can afford. Wow. And honestly, I had to pause for a moment. Do we really think it's okay to demand expensive things from a boyfriend and then judge him if he can't give them? That kind of mindset says more about us than it does about him. Ladies, please, let's not normalize this. We don't need to put a price tag on ourselves or make love look like a transaction. Gifts are sweet, but demanding them isn't. There's a different kind of confidence that comes from buying what you want with your own money, not your boyfriend's. Okay, but all right, well, this is pretty much common sense. All right, this is toxic behavior. His ex-girlfriend demanding that he buy her an iPhone 15. Well, that's about $1,000, I believe, if I'm correct. Pretty expensive these days. I think we're on the 17 now, but regardless. All right. So just find a woman you can afford. So yeah, that's the real disturbing part are the people saying just find a woman you can afford. What's her, is she high maintenance? Well, if you have the money to spoil your girlfriend or spouse, then by all means go ahead. But just keep in mind that if she's a toxic person and wants to take full advantage of you and then leave you later, well, you're going to have to be the judge of that. The signs will be there. But if she's honestly grateful by the gifts that you provide her and you want to spoil her, then go ahead. But you shouldn't have to afford love. There's a famous song called Money Can't Buy You Love, right? I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Now, you can call prostitution love, but I beg to differ. That's not love at all. That's just temporary satisfaction going nowhere. Now you have to sing the song from the Rolling Stones, Can't Get No Satisfaction, because it's not a real relationship. So no, money can't buy you love, and that's why just find a woman you can afford, that shouldn't even be uttered at all. You shouldn't be able to imagine if you turned the tables. Just find a man you can afford. It doesn't make sense. So if it doesn't make sense one way or another, it shouldn't make sense. And it shouldn't even be said. And I think that covers that, because that's just ridiculous. You know, a transactional relationship is pretty much an abusive relationship. The only exception is, like I said, if you're a very wealthy person and you want to spoil your partner, then have at it. That's at your discretion. All right, next comment. And suddenly I don't want to be anyone's girlfriend anymore. I realized how much of myself I lost when I kept lowering my standards for someone who never saw my worth. I accepted less just to feel close to him, made excuses for things that hurt me, and stayed quiet just to keep the peace. I thought love meant holding on, but it only left me feeling empty. Now I know I don't want to beg for love or lose myself trying to make someone stay. I'd rather be alone than feel unwanted by someone. Okay, nobody's arguing with that. But, you know, take time off, recuperate, recover, heal, but don't stay alone forever, because now you're going to be a loser. You're losing in life. You're not winning, okay? You got burnt once. Learn from your mistakes, trusting the wrong person, and move on to somebody who does deserve your love. Because if you stay and rot away at home all alone, you're going to regret it. 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, even 40 years down the road. How many people on their deathbeds ultimately regret the poor decisions that they made, the life, the time that they've wasted when they could have done better? You don't want to be that person full of regret. Regret is the last emotion that you'll feel with that last breath. Don't do it. You're still young, I bet. If you're energetic, get over it. Take like a year max or 2 years, however much time you need, but don't take more than that, because you're just wasting time. Enjoy solidarity, time alone, heal, but get back in there, because you deserve better. And if you think you don't, then now you're the problem because you were never going to make it in the first place with a low level of confidence like that. I'm sorry, it's a tough love, but got to show you some tough love to motivate you. Otherwise, you're going to end up a loser, and you don't deserve that, right? Because if you would have won, right, in the realm of love, then you wouldn't be saying things like that. Not going to lie. It's embarrassing to be like 30 plus talking about your boyfriend or girlfriend. At the age of 40, you have aged out of boyfriend-girlfriend talk. Just don't even talk about them until it's a husband or wife. Oh, stop it. Like, stop it. Seriously. You're going to tell people what they can and can't say? If I call my significant other anything I want, a term of endearment, my girlfriend even, and we're married, who are you to tell us what we can and can't say based off of our age? That's called ageism. And that's called wanting to be a dictator, a wannabe dictator. How about, no, I'm not going to lie, but you have a lot of growing up to do. That is, if you ever do. You're nobody to tell anybody else, regardless of their age, what they can and can't say. The beauty of freedom is that the choice lies in your hands. Your future, your present lies in your hands. So you're not going to go around saying, grow up. You sound miserable. You need to go touch some grass. All right, so last comment, 60-something here, and wondering how people deal with loneliness. Husband has passed, kids all grown up. I moved several times and can't seem to find a new community. I've done all the hobbies, meetups, volunteering as recommended, but people don't seem to need new friends. I'm doing something wrong but can't figure it out. Advice or insight? Yes! You didn't move on with your life. Stop it. You weren't born to waste your precious life with new friends and trying to fit in and kill time. Netflix and chill at home with the pet. Stop it. You need to stay alive. You need to be alive, feel alive. You're dying. You're killing yourself with this poor attitude. 60-something, how healthy are you? You're only as old as how you feel inside. You got that? If you're going to hang the hat and then just crawl into that coffin you call a home, all alone. I mean, look at the background I have here. Alone and miserable. That wasn't put there as accident. It's not an accident. It was not put there by accident. All right. You can just shrivel up like a prune and die twice in life. First you die from the inside, then you actually die. Go talk to some sexy 60-something-year-olds or even 50-something-year-olds. If you still look attractive, they'll find you attractive. And by golly, if you have some wrinkles on your face that are excusable, let me put it this way. If a man still finds you attractive, you still have a chance. What you don't want to do is go play, hey, I need some friends so I can talk about my past and live in the past and worry about the future and talk about our worries. Stop it. Don't do it. That's my best advice for you. And like I said, you're only as old as how you feel inside. So you need to get over it. You're doing ageism on yourself. You need some confidence. Go to the gym. Lift some weights. You don't have to lift the heaviest weights. Eat more nutritionally. This is a self-defeatist mindset. This is a negative self-defeatist mindset here. Hey guys, you know anywhere where I can just pretty much waste my time and fill in all the blanks that I need to fill by having a loving partner by my side? Because, well, now I will respect her by saying this. I'm going to be a little bit more respectful because I think she deserves it. If your husband passed away and you guys had an agreement that whoever went first, the one who's left behind will not be seeing anybody, I respect that. I really do. And that's the only exception that I'll put. But I just think it's so sad because if I went first, I don't think it would hurt anymore for me if my partner found somebody else. But if I was still alive, of course it would. So I actually wrote about this in my book. And I couldn't go any further with it because it's all at your discretion. So I'm not going to take back any words that I said. I was just trying to motivate this 60-something-year-old. I really am. Because when your partner loves you with all their heart and soul, you want them to always be happy. You don't want them to suffer when you're gone, if you're gone. But it's a controversial topic. It really is. It does need to be fleshed out, if it can. That was actually the most difficult part in my book. And if you're interested in grabbing a copy, become a free member on my website. I'll let you know how. But with that said, I really feel bad for her, but I don't want her to feel bad. I don't want her to go through loneliness. That's the worst thing in this life. When people living in denial saying they're happy living alone, when you know they're not. They're going to say they're happy. I love playing my video games, watching my movies, Netflix and chill, feeding my pet every day. Hey, pets are okay. But when they replace a partner that you're supposed to have by your side, even your kids, they're all grown up, they're gone. They'll visit you from time to time, but it's natural. They have lives to create on their own, right? But it's just so sad because, they're forgotten. Older people, elder people, they're just forgotten and they're left to their own demise. I don't like that. I'm against that. So get together if that's your agreement that you had with your late husband. Get together with other people who are like-minded. They don't have to be of the same age. And if you didn't have that agreement with your husband, your late husband, then yeah, it's time for you to find a new partner. And it's not replacing your late husband. That's why I said it's a controversial topic. You're not replacing them. Your new partner should respect their memory. And that's a tough thing to do. It really is. But that's for a later date to talk about. That's for another time. For now, that's all the advice I have for you. So with that said, if you have a comment that you would like for me to go over on this show, please put it down in the comment section down below. This has been Coach Ben's Stop Dating Losers. Much love, everybody.